Hello guys, welcome to the Train Parrot. I'm gonna do the market close update starting with the 4-hour time frame. Let's look at the RSI, and as you can see, this morning I placed the trend line of resistance, this time moving it slightly higher to touch with the pivot here at RSI 65. And thanks to that, now we can see that the sideways momentum that we are seeing in here has just seen a rejection at 60. Thanks to moving this line, now we can identify that as the actual resistance on the 4-hour, and we've been rejected for a breakout and continuation to the upside. So we can see that still this hidden bullish divergence hasn't yet played out to the upside. Let's remember, for context, if you missed the video this morning, I mentioned that I closed my short in a very tiny profit, expecting the price to continue to the upside and at the risk of not necessarily catching the move down, potentially myself missing that CME gap that we have located at around 91, 92K. And that is because at the moment we have a decent liquidation pool located right above the price. This is ending at around 97K, but at 97.5 is where we diminish substantially that liquidity pool at the top. Below the price, we do not have such a massive liquidation pool. So the risk of being in a short in here is that if the price was to go to 97.5, and instead of there turning into a liquidity hand that goes back down to close the CME gap at 92, if the price decided to continue to the upside and reclaim 100K, then being in a short at that point with my risk being slightly bigger because I enter at 95,500. Therefore, I'm 4.5K away from entering into 100K and potentially being dragged way higher, because after 100K we get liquidation pools that increase with every 10K. They become way larger and way larger. That's a perfect recipe for a short squeeze. And even though I think we need to get a pullback, my hypothesis is that pullback, if we are gonna get it, we are gonna capture the 97, potentially 97.5, and then we get a chance that with this vacuum of liquidity here at around 98, 99, we might stop there and produce a liquidity hand that goes into 92 and potentially into 88. That is the setup that I'm looking for. But that's why I exit my 95,500 entry short, and I'm aiming to enter a 97. That is the plan, but of course I'm gonna challenge my plan. I'm gonna see how it plays out on the spot. So if we get to 97, I wanna see how things are looking. Let's look at the order book in here. It's extremely flat. The situation is just extremely annoying. For seeing direction, for identifying an edge of direction. You can see the bid versus ask ratio at the moment is precisely 0. We have limit orders up and down. A market maker has convinced both sides to enter in a trade, and there are those limits orders with same amount up and down. Not necessarily making it really easy. We saw funding rates in the negative this morning. That's why I decided to exit around here. When we were slightly in the mid 94s, I exit. So my profit was just from 95,500 to 94,500, which is absolutely really boring win, but the price has been just going sideways. And the longs at the moment are pulling out into 38, but we've been at 38 already, and it's not necessarily making any decent move. Price now is at 95,250, and I also wanted to show you the daily. Let's go back to trading view. This was the 4-hour, and you can see that it's just going sideways, not yet breaking out from an our new squeeze area in the RSI. Let's go to the daily and let's see how is the situation, because there's been a change, and that change is that the support on our RSI, as you can see here, is right now being tested. So that means that support at the moment is 95k. If we lose 95k tonight, or let's say if RSI on the daily tonight closes below, let's say 66, below 66 or 66 exactly, then we are producing a breakdown on the daily. At that point, I'm going to be a little bit regretting having exit at 95,500. Of course, by getting into 66, price needs to go lower, right? At the moment, we are at 95, slightly above 95. That's why we are at 67.7 in the RSI. Let's look at the price action. That support, which I said is, let me see it again, is 68, let's say. So we need to adjust the reverse RSI. Let's put 68. It's going to be like this. And you can see that price is slightly below that 68 on the RSI. Is constantly flipping between being above 95, being slightly below 95, and we'll see if we lose that support on the daily. That is very important as well. So if we could get a confluence of 4-hour breaking down on the squeeze that I was showing you in the RSI before, plus the daily also losing this support, then that is going to call for potentially closing that CME gap. Unfortunately, most of the indicators, not just the bid-ask ratio, but also the delta, is also extremely flat, not really making it easy for someone data-driven like me to fully confirm the edge that I want to really use in my favor. That's why I pull out from the trade, because we have those liquidity pools at the top, but at the same time there is some breakdown that could turn into a fake out. That's why I exit from the short. I hope it makes sense. And if you're confused and you're thinking, whoa, this is just too overwhelming, this too much data, and I think the key here is, one of the reasons I don't take losses, and I'm gonna say I don't take many losses, just not to be too cocky here, is because I'm really very picky. And when things are not clear, when data is just too flat, I skip the trade. I just skip it. I don't have any trouble with not trading because there's not an opportunity. The problem is that the people that take lots of losses is because they just cannot control it. For them, trading is some sort of, like drinking, or smoking. They cannot quit. I forgot the word. But in my case, for me, trading is science. Therefore, I use the data, and if the data says there's no bias, there's no opportunity here, fine. I exit the market and I re-enter once I perceive that I'm again in a position of advantage, and it needs to be a very clear advantage. And what I'm telling you here is that, well, there is that liquidity at 97. We might be breaking down, but there's that liquidity there, so I cannot just enter a short unless we go to 97, and then I see the weakness with a breakdown. Maybe a very quick week to the upside on the 4-hour could get me interested. And that's why people tell me, so what are you going to do? Where are you going to put your limit orders? I'm not putting any limit orders. There's no clear scenario here to hit hard, and I want to hit hard as usual. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the update, a little bit longer with some discussion at the end. But if you do, hit the like, write down a comment down below, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.